The thing about these kids coming up today, though, they've been involved in wars where we didn't learn from not taking care of the troops. We didn't learn from exposing them to bad chemicals in Vietnam and Agent Orange and all the shit. We didn't learn. Like these kids are still. You know about these burn pits that they have on bases over in Iraq and Afghanistan? They take all their waste and they just burn it. I didn't know about this. I mean, I maybe had peripherally heard about it, but then Evan Hafer from Black Rifle Coffee was on the podcast talking about all these guys that are experiencing all these horrific problems because you've been breathing in toxic burn fumes. Everything. They burn everything. Human shit, plastic, garbage. They throw it all into this gigantic fire pit and it burns 24/7. So these guys are constantly breathing in fumes from burning chemicals and burning waste. And like the fact that after all the shit that happened in the Gulf War, the first Gulf War, with the depleted uranium, where they would come back with Gulf War sickness, and nobody knew what the fuck that was, and their kids would be born with all these deformities.
I like all these tent cities. They sit there and they go, support the troops, and then when they get homeless, they're like, they're taking up these people. These are our sidewalks, and all this around with joking about that last night. It's like those are your fellow countrymen. You can't. I don't know. It's a very it's a weird. It isn't weird. It's just how people are. It's all location. It's like real estate, right? My
friend Steve was in the woods, and Steve Rinella, he runs the show Meat Eater on Netflix.
What's it about?
It's a hunting show. He's a conservationist.
That's pretty right on the nose.
But they had this thing they were doing where they were going into the woods, into these public land areas and cleaning up. So they'd go in and just because a lot of people are assholes, they leave behind water bottles and all kinds of shit. They camp, they leave their garbage. So they went in and they were just going in and cleaning up, and they stumbled upon a homeless encampment. And he remembers thinking like that he didn't want to talk to them. Like he felt like I'm running to these people, like this feeling to. And he said he wound up talking to them. And just giving it a chance. And they were like, oh, yeah, hey, give us a bag. We'll help out. And they started putting stuff in the bag, too. And they were like normal folks.
Yeah.
And he realized, like, oh, these are just people where it went wrong. It went left when they should have gone right. They lost their job. All of a sudden, they're out in the street. Yeah. They don't know how to make a living now. They have a tent.
Some of them are extremely dangerous. So that's what makes you go like, I don't know here. So it's
that
hard.
Too. You never know.
Yeah. I knew a guy that just kind of did that. Just got tired of people is what he did. He just, I think he did it in like Maine too. It was like hardcore.
There was a guy that was famous for doing it in Maine. He was a legend because they didn't know if he was real or not. Because he'd break into people's houses and steal shit. And he'd lived by himself for more than a decade in the woods in Maine.
It was longer than that. Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that story?
He finally got caught.
Yeah,
he finally got caught, and he said like in like the 20 years he was out there. No, because he was like in his 40s. He was right after high school. Mm-hmm. And I think one time he was walking on a trail and he just went past somebody.
27 years.
Yeah. So if he did
never got sick. So in 1986, 20-year-old Christopher Knight left his home in Massachusetts, drove to Maine, and disappeared into the woods. Jesus Christ. Imagine if that's your kid. Like, what the man? What happened here?
Yeah.
Ad blocker? Oh, they're going to make you subscribe. You for National Geographic. Can't you come up with a better ad model, you twats? But yeah, that's a hard way to live. In the woods, in Maine, in a tent.
Oh, yeah.
Whoo.
No, these people were getting mad. Like this person figured out how to get electricity into his tent off of the telephone pole. It's like, that's a smart dude.
Yeah.
Get this guy a job, and they're all like, they're acting like they're lazy. I mean, there's lazy people out there, but you draw the line at like, okay, if I don't do this, I got to live outside.
Yeah.
Like to look at them like they're just bums.
Well, people look at people that are doing the wrong thing like you're an outcast. And I felt this when I was a kid in the smallest way, but I kind of understand it in a way. When I was 18, when I graduated high school, I didn't do anything for a year because I was competing, and I was like, I'm just going to dedicate myself to competing and see if I could make the Olympic team by the time I was 21. That was my goal.
Right.
And I also really had no idea what I wanted to study in school. And the only reason why I wind up going to school at all is because I didn't want people to think I was a loser. So I went to college. But I remember I would tell people, like, they're like, where did you go to school? Where are you going to school after I graduated college? I'm like, oh, I'm taking the year off. They look at you like, They didn't want to hang out with me anymore. Like literally, they wanted to not talk to me. Like I could sense it. Like I might.
Well, you
as
should have
well
hung out with me and my friends. We would have welcomed you.
Oh, my
I
friends
went to
did.
like junior colleges and shit like that.
The friends I had were the same way. None of them even bothered going to school. They all went into construction.
Yeah.
Friends from high school. They all, like my friend Jimmy, both my friends, Jimmy DiTilio and Jimmy Lawless. One became an electrician and one became a carpenter.
All right.
Like those were my good friends in high school outside of my fighting friends. But it was that feeling that you got of just being an outcast. And that was a minor outcast. Like I remember I was delivering newspapers for this lady. And she was asking me where I'm going to school. And I said, well, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm in the middle. And she's like, the feeling that she gave me of just like,
follow the herd. Follow the herd.
She just shucked me off. Like she was friendly and then all of a sudden she wasn't. Just based on me saying that I didn't know what I was doing with myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
just talking about college and yeah.
Definitely how it was back then.
Well, it's, Massachusetts is a different spot too because it's so goddamn cold in the winter. You can't fuck about. You got to get going.
Yeah.
Like you can't be that guy who lays around all day. You'll freeze to death. Like you have to eat. You have to survive. You have to struggle.
It always cracked me up though, the level of colleges that were there versus what me and my friends were like. You know what I mean? Like we were just the biggest idiots, and because there was that whole weird thing with Boston where it's just like it's these meathead sports fans like me. And then there's like Harvard and MIT and BU and you get all these smart people coming in from other. It's like New York. Like New York talks about all this great that they have, and it's just like you have so many free agents from other states coming in there that end up doing great and designing the stuff. But most of you guys are like me. You're walking around in sweatpants, getting a slice of pizza. You have nothing to do with this architecture